Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm Scott Gibson, and I'm going to talk to you about our strategic plan. Here's our agenda. The 4 questions that surround a strategic plan, the survey itself, our analysis to date, what's next, and then our timeline for knocking out a new strategic plan. So strategic plans, whether they're for a private school like the one we just did down the road, whether they're for the Department of Defense, whether they're for a business, it's always 4 questions. It's where are we? Where do we want to be? How do we get there? The answer to the third question is your strategic plan. And then the fourth one, once you figure all that out and once you've listened to your constituents, you ask yourself, should we change our mission? Has the focus shifted? In fact, we just did one at my little private school down the road, and we did, in fact, change our mission. So I think that's a sign of a good strategic plan. There we go. So this survey, as Whitney mentioned, closed out, ran for 30 days, closed out the end of June. A pretty robust response, 559 folks, which is very good. And then you can see the enormous amount of data that it gave us, about 13,416 responses to 24 questions. So a whole lot of data to sort through. And the neat thing about it, if you do it objectively, without bias, is that the patterns begin to crystallize pretty easily, and we can tell what you, the constituents, want, how you think we're doing, and those sorts of things. So it's a fun science. So this is, remember the first question, where are we? So we ask you, we took our mission statement and took its 4 components and then asked you for each component, is this important to you, 1, and 2, how are we doing on it? So the results are pretty fascinating. We start with promoting and advancing infrastructure improvements. That's pretty important. That's the number 2 thing in terms of you, our constituents. So that's how important it is, but how are we doing? 83% rated us as excellent or very good, but you can still see a little gap there, so some room for improvement. The second one, enhancing environmental education, also very important, just 1 point below that at 91. And how are we doing? A 77. 77% rated it as excellent or very good. So you can see some room for improvement there. That's good. Initiating a redevelopment of the Murrells Inlet commercial districts, the least important aspect of our mission statement, according to you, our constituents, and a sort of corresponding grade in terms of how are we doing, a 61. 61% rated as excellent or good. Finally, what is most important to you in terms of our mission statement is the 4th one, utilizing conservation and preservation methods to secure quality wetlands. Clearly very important to our constituents, and we get an 82 there. So again, you can see room for improvement, which is good. So that's where we are. And then we ask folks, okay, what should we be doing as we look ahead into the future? And here's some, this is only about 1/10 of the data analyzed and broken down. So these results will probably not be the same when we come up with our final strategic plan, but a pretty fascinating glimpse just looking at this one slice. So you can see, what's that big green slice? 37% want improvements in communication and public relations. And we're very curious to see exactly what is it that you want. We have a newsletter, have a website, and we're gonna look through this data to find out exactly what it is that you want in addition to that kind of stuff. 2 other relevant ones for tonight, of course, look at the bike path and traffic safety. Those were big issues, and traffic safety, many of the comments there did include the bike path. So when you put those 2 together, that's over 20% of what folks are looking for as we go into the future. So we'll be very carefully sifting this out to find out exactly what you want done. And also the reason we did the pie chart is if communication and public relations, if that's not one of our top objectives, then we will have missed the boat, because look how big that slice is of the pie. So what are we going to do next? I mentioned that was a partial analysis. Obviously, we want to complete our analysis. Identify priorities, like you saw those slices of the pie. Translate those priorities into imperatives. What does that mean? We want every goal in a strategic plan is an imperative. In other words, build a pier, extend the bike path, that kind of thing. So we translate the input into imperatives. And then we incorporate those into a metrically measurable strategic plan. Metrically measurable is important because you don't want to say improve the Veterans Pier. Well, what does that mean? Maybe I think it's improved, maybe you don't. How about expand the pier 100 feet? Or how about expand the bike path a mile, whatever. So those are measurable And you can hold us accountable and tell us, hey, you didn't meet the goal or you did. And it gives us incentive to do exactly what you wanted. Then obviously we begin to implement the plan and track the progress of implementation. When we publish the strategic plan, we will simultaneously publish an implementation plan. And the advantage of that is when you have an implementation plan, it lists 3 things: the goal, who by name is responsible, and the date. So it makes it a lot more difficult not to get the plan done, which is good news. So in that way, we'll be able to update you monthly, quarterly, whatever you like, to let you know how we're doing on our plan. And when will we do all that for you? Well, you can see on the far left, June 2015, when we finished the survey. Starting in July through the present, we've been sorting through the data, analyzing it. We want to have the first draft of the plan done in December, which gives us plenty of time, several months, to refine it, make sure it's accurate, make sure it reflects what you want, and is feasible, and is done in a manner that we can measure it. And then by May, at the latest, in fact, we could publish early, we'll actually have a polished strategic plan to present and also an implementation plan to go with it. So we are very enthused about what we see in the data, and eager to make sure that we get this right in the eyes of you, our constituents. And I think that's our final slide. I'm happy to take questions or hear your comments or